Hello, YouTube. The Baikal-Amur Mainline is a broad gauge railway line in Russia. BAM is the abbreviated name for this in Russian. Traversing Eastern Siberia and the Russian Far East, the 4,324 kilometers or 2,627 miles long BAM runs about 610 to 770 kilometers, 380 to 480 miles. North of and parallel to the Trans-Siberian Railway, it has experienced paranormal phenomena. The white shaman, the ghost train, and the mysterious spheres. The most mysterious legends of the BAM, and I'll tell you about them, but also I want to give you some background so you know what we're talking about. It was in 1974, after the decree on the construction of the Baikal-Amur Railway, one of the greatest construction projects of the communism in the Soviet Union began. The idea to build such a railway appeared back in the Russian Empire before the communists grabbed power. It was started but in the Soviet Union, it was started by the prisoners of the communist BAM-like system of the Gulag concentration camps. And then, years later, it was continued by the Komsomol volunteers. The Komsomol was the Communist Youth League in the Soviet Union. It started in 1918. It was for the people from 14 years old to 28 years old. The large-scale project has generated many mysterious legends. Well, I'll tell you the most interesting ones. The project of building a route coinciding with the current BAM began to be discussed in 1888 at the Russian Technical Society. The expedition of Colonel of the Russian General Staff Nikolai Voloshinov covered thousands of kilometers in 3 months, studying the relief and soil of the proposed route. He considered the area so difficult that the construction of the railway with the funds available at that time was ruled out. The Russian Imperial BAM project was shelved. In 1924, that already would be under the Soviet rule, the Baikal-Amur Mainline was recalled and the project started. It was decided to construct it by the prisoners. In 1932, the OGPU, Soviet Secret Police, organized BAMLAG, as part of the Gulag. By the end of the 1930s, more than 100,000 convicts were working on a construction site among swamps, blood-sucking midges, and permafrost. Even the Chekists, secret police operatives, were struck by the most difficult construction conditions. In 1934, the head of the NKVD, the new name for the secret police of the socialist motherland, of the Far Eastern Territory, Terentий Deribas, visited the construction site and noted the first thing that catches your eye is completely inhuman working conditions, absolutely unheard of poverty, squalor, both material and household supplies and technical supplies. If the conditions at the site generated sympathy from the NKVD, you can imagine what it was like in reality. By 1941, less than 500 kilometers were built, and in 1942, the links of the track and bridge structures were removed from the commissioned section of the BAM for the construction of the railway from Stalingrad to Ulyanovsk. The railway to nowhere. It is with prisoners that one of the most famous legends of the BAM is connected, about a ghost locomotive that rushes through glades and frozen swamps without a single sound. It was a train allegedly stolen in 1942 by BAM-LAG prisoners. Please know that throughout the Soviet history, there has been resistance to the totalitarian regime, including uprisings. According to the legend, between the villages of Kicher and Yanchukan, the convicts escaped, stole a steam locomotive with 3 freight platforms, and tried to break through to the Yakut forests by the narrow gauge railway. The concentration camp authorities sent airplanes to bomb the train. Since then, the ghost locomotive has been roaming in the taiga, boreal forest. In 1973, Dmitry Zarechnyev's work crew discovered a section of a well-preserved railway that led to nowhere. The branch line was clearly built during the Gulag period, and perhaps the legend of the ghost train is connected with it. If you're interested in the history of the Soviet Union during that period, the macabre history that I think is more scary than any paranormal phenomena can be, of what was done to the people, I suggest you read books by Solzhenitsyn and Shalamov. You will understand what can be done to people by totalitarian regimes. Attempts to complete the BAM were made until early 1960s, including by using the labor of Japanese prisoners of war, those captured by the Soviet Army in 1945. But then the project was frozen for many years. In 1974, the BAM was declared an all-Union Komsomol Shak construction site. An abandoned highway was being completed from the west and east. The first BAMovians, those who volunteered to work there, were escorted to the Far East solemnly, to the sounds of songs dedicated to this project. The attention of the whole country was focused on the BAM. Books and musical instruments were collected and sent to the first builders of the emerging settlements of the western section of the BAM. Our Komsomol district committee used the funds collected from the cleanup days to purchase a piano and sent it to the village of Zvyozny. Like those BAMovians, I had an irresistible desire to directly participate in the construction of the famous highway of the century, according to Vasily Shvaikin, chairman of the Regional Council of Veterans of BAM Builders. He recalled it in a conversation with the local newspaper Oblastnaya. Workers were attracted to the all-Union construction site, primarily on the so-called Komsomol permit. Mostly young people, engineers and builders, handymen and railway workers went there. They stimulated people to go to the BAM not only ideologically, but also with what we call the long ruble, meaning solid salary allowances. In addition, you could get a voucher for the purchase of a car. The builders of the BAM did not face the problems of commodity shortages, which we experienced in the Soviet Union due to the socialist economy. Those working at the BAM could even get imported goods, furniture from the German Democratic Republic and Yugoslavia, Japanese televisions, Java motorcycles, books and sheepskin coats, shoes from Poland, and much more goods were available to them. But with praising the romance of youth construction, Soviet newspapers, for the most part, ignored the hardships faced by those young people. The biggest problem, besides rains and off-road conditions, for travelers has become a small and malicious midge, mosquitoes. It was impossible to escape from the bites of this winged creature. The sting of the midge pierced the thickest tarpaulin and left a red spot on the skin that I wanted to comb until I bled, recalled Mikhail Kupera, a BAM builder. We had to live in temporary shelters, tents, and barracks, constantly moving from place to place in the difficult Far Eastern climate. Brezhnev is cheating the youth. Brezhnev обманывает молодежь is how the abbreviation BAM was sometimes jokingly deciphered in Russian. However, Komsomol members actively went to the construction site. In total, According to some estimates, about 500,000 people came to the BAM, which radically changed the national composition of the region. Indigenous people made up about 1% of the population. Probably another legend of the BAM is connected with the beliefs of the locals about the white shaman. Allegedly, this kind ghost protected the builders of the highway of the project from the accidents. The shaman was seen during the construction of the Kodar tunnel, the highest in the whole of the BAM project. Avalanches and landslides were not uncommon in these mountains, and the ghost of the white shaman appeared in front of builders before another natural disaster. The locals, who lived by cattle breeding and hunting, were not too happy about the appearance of new people in the area where they live, in the Iron Monster BAM. Deer in the pasture were injured by scrap metal scattered around the track, and food waste from trains attracted wolves. In addition, hunters often exchanged animal skins from the BAMovians for alcohol and often got drunk. During the construction of the BAM, more than 4,000 kilometers of track were laid. It was the most expensive infrastructure project in the history of the USSR. The connection of the western and eastern sections of the tract occurred in 1984. Golden railroad ties were solemnly laid at the Kuanda station of the Trans-Baikal territory. Regular train service began in 1989 when the infrastructure was completed, and BAM was fully launched only in 2003 when the 15-kilometer Severomuysky tunnel was opened. Tunnels are indispensable parts of BAM as the highway crosses 7 mountain ranges with thousands of mountains. Soviet builders laid 8 kilometers long underground corridors around which legends have developed. The Baikal tunnel was known for mysterious yellow fireballs. They sometimes appeared from vertical cracks in its vault. There was a story that a little over an hour after the appearance of such balls or spheres, a strong influx of groundwater took place. In 1980, at the 8th kilometer of the tunnel, one of the sections suddenly collapsed. It exposed a wide range that led deep into the mountains. Sound resembling either a jackhammer or drums, those sounds were heard from the depths. The management explained this by the high concentration of radon gas, which causes auditory hallucinations. In addition to tunnels, the BAM consists of 142 bridges. The most famous of them was the Devil's Bridge, a 2-tier overpass over the Itikit River. This bridge was part of the Severomuysky bypass, along which trains ran until 2003, when the tunnel of the same name was completed. According to the legends of the BAMovians, there are tailed devils in those places in abundance. On the bridge, they allegedly wait for trains and arrange dances on the roofs of locomotives. Therefore, the drivers cross themselves every time they pass through this place. Under heavy trains, the rickety bridge begins to vibrate violently. This was called the Dance of Devils. But thank God there were no accidents every time. Those are the legends of the BAM that I wanted to let you know about. And of course, in my other videos, you can find more about Siberia, about the former Soviet Union, its Paranormal, the Far East, Yakutia, other parts of Russia, and also about countries that are neighboring Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and of course the Central Asian countries. Thank you for your attention to my work. If you can support my research, you can do so through the links you will find in the description to this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like my videos.